Okay, so hello everybody. Thank you for the invitation. It's great to be here and great to have an opportunity to share my experience with you. I'm Jerzy Gulczynski, I'm from DreamLab. I'm Director of IT Platforms Development and Operation, and I'm also DreamLab board member. Today I'd like to tell you about the idea of DevOps, why we implemented DevOps, what we did, what is important. So let me start from the beginning. We are a part of a big media group, Linear Access Springer, that consists of Linear Access Springer Poland, Onet, Nasza Klasa, Skąpiec, Opinio, and also Linear Access Springer Serbia, Hungary, and Slovakia, with headquarters in Switzerland. DreamLab is research, development, and operating center for the group. So we create a lot of services, portals for Onet, biggest horizontal portal, WATERFALL, and also RASP Poland services like Newsweek, Forbes, Fact, and many other. And we also prepare our technologies to be multi-tenant and multi-language to launch services in Hungary and Slovakia. We create portals for about 16 million users. We utilize one of the most modern data center in Poland. Our team is about 300 engineers working in 40 product teams in Krakow, Warsaw, and Wrocław. So when we started at 2006 as a separate R&D center for Onet and at the time also for the TVN, we weren't as mature as we are today. The only thing we had, it was chaos, too many things to do, too many open projects, too many clients, business units in the same time, and we weren't able to manage it. That's why we decided to organize, to make it professional, to be predictable in terms of software development. So let's quickly go through the first chapter of DreamLab. That is already behind us, but I hope this will help you avoid mistakes that we made. So we implemented heavy methodologies and silo structures. We appointed Central Project Management Office. We divided our teams into competence-oriented functional silos. We implemented waterfall process based on OpenUP framework and PMI, PMBOK. This is the one side of the story. And the second side, we had operations with 24/7 first line of support and also siloed teams there. And we implemented ITIL. And we was even awarded by Helpdesk Institute in 2008 for best implementation of ITIL in Poland. So development was driven by a change and iron triangle, and the operation, of course, was driven by uptime. So projects teams were appointed dynamically. So we, for example, took 2 developers from front and 3 from, for example, middleware databases, and we appointed and we assigned them to a project for some period of time. When we finished our development, we took our software into the wall, and we throw it over the wall to forget about it and to let administrators worry about it. So before I go to the lessons learned, I want to ask you one question, and this is an exercise especially for you guys. So let's imagine that you have to send brochures to your clients, and you have 15 brochures, 50 envelopes, 50 stamps, address sticker, and there are 2 ways of preparing it. The first one is one by one. So, for example, you take the first envelope, you stick the address sticker to it, you stick the stamp, you fold and put the brochure into this envelope, and you seal the envelope, and then you take another next envelope and you repeat the whole operation for the next envelopes. And there is a second method also. You can do it in, let's say, more organized way. So you can stick every stamp into each envelope, then you stick every address sticker to each envelope, then you fold and put brochure to each envelope, and so on. So which method would be quicker? So who is choosing the method 1? Okay, thank you. Who is choosing the method 2? Okay. So most of us feels that the second method is quicker, that is most effective, but unfortunately it isn't. So our intuition suggests us that we will be more effective in the second method, that we will be getting better repeating the same operations many times, but we forget that we lose a lot of time moving and sorting large batch of envelopes. So I know this is hard to believe, but it was proven in many experiments, and one of such experiments was even recorded and published on YouTube. So I provide you the link to this video at the end of my presentation. So why the first method is more effective? The first method is an example of one-piece flow. So its good performance stems from surprising potential of small batches. Advocates of lean manufacturing discovered that potential many years ago. So what is a batch? A batch is a unit of work that you pass from one stage in the process to the next stage. So for example, you stick 10 stamps into 10 envelopes, and this result you hand over to the next stage. The problem of a large batch is that it's not optimized for the effectiveness of the whole process. There is also another problem of large batches. This is a late feedback. So, for example, let's imagine that you choose the second method based on small batches, and at the end of in the last phase, you discover that the defect in each envelope. So you have to unpack everything. You have to buy new envelopes, and you have to repeat the whole job again. In this first method, based on small batches, which is one-piece flow method, you would know about that at the very beginning. So the small batches leads to quicker feedback, quick result, less communication problems, less risk of regression at the end. And the small batches, the DevOps and Agile is about small batches. Waterfall is about large batches. Client has huge requirement, you have to analyze that, and so on. Also large batches are handed over between siloed teams. So go to our lessons learned. We draw conclusions, and we were really mature. We were predictable. We in these waterfall structures, and we were finishing more than 80% of projects on time, on budget, and scope, but the quality was low. The technical debt was significant, and we are also slow and ineffective. So team that uses waterfall and silo structures feels like a cheetah in a car. So it feels it can run faster, but it can't. So large batches are everywhere. So you have client has huge requirement, you have to analyze it, you have to you create tons of documentation, you develop that huge batch of requirement, and after many months of work, you hand over this product, this large batch to your client, and you count on such reaction. It's risky. So such bureaucratic culture is also destructive to the performance, to the job satisfaction, and to the creativity of the people also. So employees in such environment feels like in factory, like cogs in machine, like they can be creative, they can be efficient. And also the relationship between business and IT are poor. So this supply-demand relationship. So we drew conclusions, and we decided to leave this world of pain, and we released our cheetah from the cage in 2011. And more than 1 year later, we had 2 cheetahs running alongside DevOps. So what do you think? Is DevOps like a teenage sex? That everybody talks about it, no one really knows how to do it, everybody thinks that everybody else doing it, so everybody claims they are doing it. So it's not clear to me how it is in Poland, but let's look at the DevOps globally. So Puppet Labs did an interesting survey and provided interesting result in State of DevOps 2014 report. More than 9,200 people from 110 countries responded to the survey, and they found interesting things. They found that 55% of responders are implementing DevOps or already have it. They also found that 16% of responders are parts of named DevOps department, and 92% of these working in DevOps department are implementing DevOps practices already have it. They also found that DevOps teams are on a growing trend. So it seems to me that the world is quite advanced. So what is a DevOps? So in my opinion, it's an extension of Agile. It's like Agile on steroids, because thanks to DevOps, you can be even faster. So for me, it's hard to imagine DevOps without Agile and vice versa. So this is a software development, operations, and quality done in one cross-functional, self-organized team in one cycle, which is based on small batches. So this is a team where DevOps thinks more like ops and vice versa. And this is also a culture of continuous improvement. The culture where you can and even should fail quickly to learn and to improve quickly. And this is also some collections of practices. So why implement DevOps? So before we start to do it, we should answer this question to ourselves, to our organization, to our team. Sorry. So why to do it? Because it's trendy, because everybody claims they are doing it. So these are not the reasons. So the first and, in my opinion, most important reason is a business reason. So because of higher effectiveness, faster time to market, fast feedback, better quality, better and more innovative product, better uptime, less cost of infrastructure, better scalability. And also Puppet Labs confirmed that in this report. They found that companies who implemented DevOps are more effective than companies who has not. And the one one more interesting thing is that a high-performing organization are deploying code 30 times more frequently with 50% fewer failures than their low-performing counterparts. So I am sure that market today everything is going so quickly. The market is so competitive. The clients are so demanding. So I am sure that the way you do your software, your product, how you generate your business value is a crucial thing. And the second reason is a job satisfaction. So someone said that happy cows make better cheese, and I am sure that is also true for us, for people. When we are happy, we are more engaged, more effective, more creative, and it finally leads also to the better business outcomes. So why we are more happy, more engaged in DevOps culture? Because of high trust culture, because of fast results, because of climate of learning, because of good collaboration between devs and ops, because of automation, thanks to which people find time for more creative and proactive work instead of doing that repetitive one, because of self-organization, autonomy of the team. So what you should do and to implement DevOps, what is important? So in my opinion, the first thing is a culture. So DevOps is first and foremost about a culture, not only about tools and processes. It's even easier to implement infrastructure as code, continuous deployment, than change the company culture. So DevOps is about trust. That is a driver of good communication flow, good collaboration, learning from failures, continuous improvements, new ideas in your company. And DevOps is also about self-organizing. Self-organizing of a team is related to high autonomy and responsibility. That is opposite to survival mode, where the team doesn't have time for anything, where the team fights with fires, when the team are not able to do anything without the team leaders. And this way from survival through learning to self-organizing is well described in Roy Osherow's book, Notes to a Software Team Leader. So Roy describes how you should change your team leader style and how you should change your team. So I highly recommend you this book. So, and DevOps is also about the autonomy, mastery, and purpose, or alignment, which are strong drivers or engagement. So this is a Daniel Pink motivation idea that is called Drive, also recommended to you. So this is the Henry Knieberg slide, who is consultant, is working in Swedish company, and I like this slide very much because it describes alignment and high autonomy perfectly. So high alignment and high autonomy is what you should achieve in DevOps culture. So you should define clear goals, problems, you should also give to the people the wider perspective, why you want to do it. But don't tell the people how to solve that problem. Don't tell them build the bridge. Allow them to find the best solution of the river problem by themselves. So maybe a bridge is not a good solution. Maybe they build a ferry or a boat. So DevOps is, in DevOps, if you are a DevOps and you take care about your product, you should have blameless postmortem. So the goal of blameless postmortem is to draw conclusions and to improve your product and process. And it also builds trust. So don't blame the people for and punish or your colleagues for failures. So treat every failure as a lesson, as a chance to improve. Otherwise, your colleagues will be closed and problems will be swept under the carpet. Never hide failures from your business partners. You should tell them what's happened, what was the impact, what you want to do to prevent from such failure in the future. We send information about every failure to our business and IT. And we text it, and we send it via email, and we also provide the information about failures after, provide postmortems after failures. The next thing that is very important in DevOps is a team. So this is my recipe for the team. So team should be product-oriented, and they should love the product. They should create a business value. They shouldn't be backend and frontend oriented, because backend is not a business value, it's not also a product. So they should be cross-functional to be able to operate and to develop the whole product by themselves. When they break it, they should fix it. And for best collaboration, they should have 4-8 person, and they also should be sitting in the same room. So what if the product is too big or too complicated to be developed in such 8-person team? So divide product vertically. So don't divide it for backend and frontend. So on this example, you can see the VOD team, VOD service, and there is a video audio player, which is a complicated solution. So you should assign it to a video player, video platform team as a part of video platform. So the rest of service you can assign to another team, for example, VOD service team. So the key is to that team is responsible for final result, for the whole functionality from top to bottom. And as you see, the complexity of such integration is simple. So player is just embed on the page, and try compare it to the backend front-end integration. And in such solution, what is very important, the video platform team feels responsible for the final result. They create a business value. They provide the result, the player to the user, and not only the backend of the solution. In the old-fashioned infrastructure, that was common to treat servers as pets and to also give them cute names. So every server was individually and manually configured and tuned. So today, instead of treating machines as pets, we treat them just as a cattle, and we are cowboys, and we don't cry when any of them is sick or even dead, because our services are still healthy. So it's not possible to log into the server and to change the configuration manually. And in the last few years, we completely changed our technology stack. We use asynchronous technologies. We implemented PaaS platforms that are used by our DevOps. So platforms like RDBS, NoSQLDB, Search, Queue, Object Storage, and many other. And our environment is fully automated in the cloud, starting from commodity hardware, finishing on applications. So, for example, the path orchestrator takes the information from scoreboard, and it just knows that it has to run, for example, new instance of the application, and it asks IIS orchestrator for some type of virtual machine. When it is ready, the application is automatically downloaded through BitTorrent network, and it is installed and run on it. So thanks to it, the whole environment and also Onet at the end and many other services are can be run from the scratch, from zero. So thanks to the automation, we also run our cloud in Amazon. So we utilize 2 data centers in Krakow, but only in one we have full cloud environment. So to be all time prepared, we run our cloud in Amazon for every day for 4 hours for 1% of traffic. And this traffic and this duration is limited because we don't want to pay too much to Amazon. So the main instance is based on our data center. The recovery instance is a credit card-driven infrastructure. So we use EC2, Amazon, and S3 like our disaster recovery site in case of failure of our main DC. This scenario is cost-effective. So thanks to it, we haven't spent too much on hardware in second DC. And we also sure that in a few years, computing power from such huge providers will be cheaper than our own DC. That's why we are just ready for that. So we are sure that server uptime is no longer a reason to be proud. Instead of having long uptime, try make it ultra short. So the Chaos Monkey, thanks to the Chaos Monkey, average lifetime of our virtual machine in the cloud is about 3 hours. So Chaos Monkey just switches virtual machines, and the applications are going down, and they are automatically run again somewhere in the cloud. So thanks to it, our applications live in permanent failure. So they are ready for the future, for the true failure. And the whole environment orchestrator is constantly tested. So do you remember small and large batches? So the small change is a small risk, it's a smaller complexity, and a smaller risk of failure at the end. So we have about 200 deployments every day, 200 small changes every day on our production. So paradoxically, many organizations left and they really cycle, and this approach just increases the pain. So our goal is to make our deployment process boring and automatic. To do it, you should deploy small changes often, and you should have also continuous delivery. So I think that is clear how it works, so I don't want to describe it in detail. The goal of continuous deployment is to make your deployment process boring, repeatable, automatic. So you can save a lot of time thanks to deployment automation. You won't be wondering how to deploy and also what you have forgotten. So how to have deployment, continuous deployment? So in the past 3 years, in the past years, we tried to do it many times with poor results. So every team did it on their own. So 2 years ago, we decided to change it. And we realized that we have to spend money and time on it. So we defined the clear goal and vision of this continuous deployment, and we engage the people. So this is always a good idea to engage the people. And we appointed cross-organization continuous deployment team, and we just asked volunteers to join this team. They prepared the first version of the environment, tools, and process, and still today they are taking care of the process and tools. And they are ambassadors, they are evangelists and users of this process, and they help other implement CD also. So they choose Atlassian, Jira, Stash, Bamboo, SonarQube to manage code quality, and also Selenium for functional testing. The first 3 tools are, in my opinion, perfectly integrated, which makes this environment really friendly for teams. And these tools cover the whole workflow, starting from task in Jira, through test, through code review, to automatic deployment. Our team configured the whole environment. They provided standards, guidelines, quality profiles. They defined workflows to make this continuous deployment tools and process easy to have for everybody. They also prepared a documentation to tell everybody how to join, how to start. And I also suggest you to measure the progress of maturity of continuous deployment within your organization. So to measure, identify problems, and to help everybody improve. So, for example, you can check many things. You can check automatically how many projects are moved from the old repository, do teams deploys on production with code review, what is a test coverage, and many other things to identify problems and to help everybody go ahead. So this is another practice that is widely used at DreamLab. To minimize a risk of failure, you can also deploy for some percentage of traffic, for some small percentage of traffic. This is a post-deployment report of video player, which is based on real user monitoring. And we deploy new version of our video player, for some small percent of traffic. So, for example, for 10 users. And we check the results, and when we see we are safe, we can increase the number of users for whom we deploy. So as you see, you are able to compare the old version of player that is deployed for 90% and the new one, which is deployed on 10. And based on this information, you can decide what you want to do, and this decreases the risk of failure after deployment. So the next thing, very important in the DevOps world, is logs are even. They are crucial, online and offline data. They are also crucial in the cloud environment because you are not able to log into you don't know where your application is working. So thanks to it, you can have proactive monitoring, you can have discover alarming trends, you can diagnose and solve problem faster. You can deploy often also. We collect about 130,000 logs per second, and from every layer in our cloud, and we store it into the central place, which is open for every developers. So event and metrics are stored in Graphite, online logs are available via console, and the history logs are in Hadoop. So we don't focus only on the system and application metrics. We measure user experience thanks to the real user monitoring. And we measure times and error on the client side. And on the browser, real time. So we collect this information about the user experience. So this is a screen from our old monitoring system. This is a real information. This is not a fake or joke. So as you see, in the past, monitoring was reserved for administrators only. This is also clearly shows how high the wall of confusion was. So today, the monitoring in DevOps environment, proactive monitoring is a must. You are responsible for the product, for development and operations, and you have to know what is happening in your product currently, in short, in long perspective, to take an action if it is required, to discover alarming trends, to diagnose, to solve problems faster. And to have such proactive monitoring, you must have tools. We use many tools, but the most important is Graphite, Rework, ITIL, and Splunk. And very good practice that I can recommend it to you is to have monitoring TVs in every room for every team. And thanks to it, teams really take care about the product and the product monitoring on the daily basis, and they develop monitoring in parallel to product development. So as you see on the left, this is a continuous integration status. On the right, you got product monitoring. So I also have monitoring center and monitoring team, monitoring as a service team, active 24/7 in our data center and monitoring center. And there is a strong correlation between product monitoring and monitoring as a service team. So every product has its own alarm in monitoring center, and this one button of alarms is related to the whole screen of buttons in Teams rooms. So if any product button is going red, then also related button on this screen is also red. So each product team provides monitoring buttons to this monitoring as a service team, troubleshooters, escalation paths, trainings, and the monitoring as a service team ensures the first aid based on how to on the knowledge, and they also provides the feedback about fake alarms, about lack of alarms, and based on this information, the product team is able to improve your product and monitoring. And this work together in a common feedback loop. So if you really wanted to implement DevOps, I suggest you don't jump into it in a waterfall way. So you should build a clear vision and goal for your team and for your organization. You should engage the people. You can't do anything without them. And implement it in the iteration. So for example, take one team, one client, one product, prove that it works, build a success story, acquire ambassadors, next then build a critical mass for this implementation, and then things will just happen by themselves. You can also take external trainer who has a knowledge, authority, and who can help you. And based on my experience, I can tell you that IT is usually a leader of change. So I know that it's possible. We as IT, we change the way of our product development in the whole organization. We also change the way our business plans the agenda. And the agenda, for example, is planned in quarterly cycles. And I honestly wish you good luck, and I hope you will find the curiosity and determination to do it. Thank you very much. You've got also links. Czy jakieś pytania?
Hi, you mentioned the proactive monitoring here. I am on the other side here. You mentioned proactive monitoring. Do you use some tools like anomaly detection or some tools to correlation different metrics from different systems? Because what you showed us is like showing the metrics to the developers. Do you use some tools to help them to find the metrics that cannot be found by the developer by themselves?
Yeah, we use experimentally. We use such tool, but I don't remember the name of this tool that is used by ITC. Skyline, yeah. So we use Skyline for one product, and it's we are happy, but we so far we didn't decide to use it globally.
We know that it's easy to make DevOps from dev because it's a natural process, but how we can make from people like ops DevOps? What's the easiest way?
So I'm not sure I understand the question. So you said that there is an answer for developers, and you are looking for the answer how to do it for administrators?
Yes, because I think DevOps developers can mutate to be DevOps, but how people from straight administrator become DevOps? So we learn them programming, or what's the way?
So of course depends on the situation. But for example, we in the cloud. So we got, for example, the product which is not using the cloud yet, and there is a team where the developers and ops are work together. So this is quite obvious that most of administration work is done by administrators, but this knowledge is they exchange the knowledge, and as we see, developers are also engaging in administration and so on. So in the cloud, we have such situation that most of administrators are in our platforms teams. So, for example, we got iOS cloud platform, and on that we have PaaS platforms like NoSQLDB, RDBS, Q, Search, etc. And in these teams, there are developers and administrators, and they work together. And for example, in the product teams, where the developers uses just Q, object storage on many or any other platforms to build the products, there is no administrators. But the team is a DevOps team because they are responsible for the whole process, for operations and for development. Okay, so thank you.
Still one more question. Hi. In DevOps, information flow is pretty important for the DevOps team to have feedback of what's happening on production, and you were showing monitoring. But what about information from customer service, which receives calls about something not working or some glitches with the solution? Do you aggregate somehow this information and provide for DevOps teams so that they can make better decisions during the next iteration?
Yeah, this is a very good idea to also collect that information to be taken into account by product teams also. So, for example, if we have an event like live video, so we are all the time in touch with our help desk or the people who are responsible for contact with our users. Yeah, so this is a very good idea.
I mean, I was asking if you do it, and if yes, then do you have some, I know, process established for that, or tools, or yeah, just way that you can accumulate different categories of requests or errors?
So we use ITIL tools for that kind of requests and calls. But of course, for example, when we have such live event, we are directly, for example, on Skype, and we are in contact with people from help desk.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.